more tactical things. Are you guys familiar with the term lanes and laning?
League of Legends.
So basically, a lane is the connection or the pathway between 2 points, and usually it's like here we have flight control and data core is the alien base. So the lanes would be like the bottom lane is like sub-axis or that vents there. Then you have crossroads and atrium where the aliens can go through, for example, to get to your resource towers. And one of the most effective things you can do as a scout is to bite the backres, the resource towers of the Marines. So, like, your computer lab is a good example. If nobody's defending it and a single scout goes there and attacks it, either the Marines lose resources, which is very bad for them, or they have to send Marines back to defend it, and then there's less Marines on the front line.
My game just crashed. I don't know why.
Sorry, I just rejoined. So, Luft, where you are right now in computer lab and where I'm at in sub, we're leaning to some degree, like if someone comes from crossroads to computer, you've got it, and if someone comes from sub to computer, I've got it. But there's also this vent here, right? And so awareness, laning involves also knowing where the specific routes around the lanes are. So if I were to say move up to sub and LUFTWAFFEL starts pushing a little bit towards crossroads to where that vent is that connects between the two, now let's say that in a positioning where we're maybe in a 6v6 in a competitive game or something, let's just imagine that, you know, we've got a smaller number of players. At this point, I'm laning now ventilation and maintenance access, and he's blocking the vent over there. Now computer and sub are safe, and the two of us are now in a much better position in terms of the distance between us and the aliens and the fact that they can't just come up a vent behind us. So lane blocking involves understanding the dynamic routes around the map and understanding the positionings that allow you to hold things differently. It gets more complicated once you start adding in the factors of, like, let's say they have fades on the field and they decide to come and kill you in maintenance, and now sub is open, and how does LUFTWAFFEL change positions in order to accommodate, or who's spawning and who's running in what lane at what time. Those types of things, you know, with time and experience come. But what essentially ends up happening is you get into a system where someone, when you die, someone is hopefully coming to replace you in the lane and make sure that they can't kill your resources for long enough. You know, you've got to have more resources than they do to out-tech them. Out-teching is the term, you know, basically when your upgrades are upgrading faster than they are, so that eventually you have such an advantage that it's easier to win the game. And to do that, you have to lane block.
Yeah. So what you can really try to implement in the public games, look at your back resources, and if they're getting attacked, try to prevent the enemies from respiting. Try to position yourself in a way that you can kill the skulks before they get to your back res. You can also employ some mines at some vents around corners. But usually in lower skill servers with a lot of people, they like push the enemy hive or tunnel, but they forget to protect their back resources. So if you see that your back resources are going constantly down, grab a welder, position yourself where you can hopefully prevent it and repair those back res up. Like as a single Marine, if like those two back resources you're protecting, if they don't go down instead of dying every like 3 minutes, you do so much more than you would do like having one more Marine at the front line.
Yeah. There's got to be a balance between doing damage and making sure that you continue your tech path.
Yeah. On the other hand, as an alien, especially as a Skulk, and especially if you're not that super good at killing, just focus on biting down their resources. Because if you're defending a hive, if there's one Skulk more, it doesn't make a big difference. You're probably not gonna get that many kills or do that much. But if the Marines are attacking a hive and you kill their back resources, they have a very limited time. Like, they have to get that hive down, otherwise they lose all their back res and they cannot keep up with medding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if you punish them for being aggressive, they have a very short time window where they can be aggressive, and after that they have to rebuild and recap and get fucked. But if you don't do it, like if you only have one hive or like two hives, but you're on 2 RTs, the Marines have 2/3 of the map. If you don't put pressure on their resources, they can attack you all day long. They don't have to stop, and their weapons get better and better, and you're gonna lose. So it's so important to put pressure on their resources. And as a Skulk, if you die on biting computer lab, for example, that's not bad. It means that a Marine killed you in computer lab, that Marine is not attacking your stuff. And the Marines are much more spread out. And it's much easier to kill 2 Marines in a room with Fates and Lerk than it is to kill 5 Marines in a room. So if you spread out the Marines, the aliens have a much easier time killing the Marines. So, like as a Skulk, the best thing you can do is to ignore the Marines at the front line, maybe parasite them, and then just fuck off and buy some resources. And when you buy resources, and there's a Marine coming, parasite him and fuck off, buy it somewhere else, or just wait in the vent sometime. That Marine can either wait with you and wait until you come out. That Marine is not doing anything, and the rest of the Marine team is easier to kill. Or that Marine moves on, and you just keep on biding the resources.
Well, the other thing is there's a couple different types of games, scenarios that can play out, and one of the scenarios is the one where the aliens are hitting back res so much the Marines, not only do they not have enough resources to continue upgrading as fast as they should be, and eventually that will catch up to them and they would probably lose, but a large percentage of Marines are stuck trying to recap the res so often that any attacks they have really aren't enough to stop the aliens from spreading. So effective res biting throughout the game from the beginning of the game, especially when the Marines are not lane blocking properly, which is most of the time in public matches,
yeah.
You know, you're going to slow down their upgrades, but you're also going to make it so that Marines can't push because they have half as many people trying to put pressure. They're just constantly going back and recapping.
That's what I meant. Like, even if you die biting back resources, it's not bad. You cause the Marine to spread out and to not be at the front line. And those fewer Marines on the front line are now much easier to kill.
The same thing applies in competitive. Like it's even more obvious because there's smaller number of players. And
yeah.
I can't tell you how many games I've had recently where the back res just kept getting bit, and that was the only reason we really lost. I mean, if we had kept the resources,
yeah.
we would have out-teched them and won the game. But it was just constant backbiting res to the point where like their main life forms, the Lerks, and sometimes Skulks as well, they were just flying around in our back res and nothing else. They were just going back and forth between resource towers, and we just couldn't keep up an attack and rebuild or lane block or defend. It was just, you know, that's what wins games.